Hello, and welcome to The Thing About Parenting. My name is Tracy Sires, and I'm your host. Before I go any further, I just want to share here that the information in this podcast is not meant to replace or substitute that of licensed professionals. So if you, your children, or your family are experiencing a crisis beyond the scope of what we share in this podcast, please seek professional help. So the goal and purpose and intention for this channel is to hear from the many voices on parenting. So we're talking parents, we're talking experts, and our children. I will share my experiences as a parent, from training, and as a coach, but the majority of this will really be about getting honest and transparent about the parenting process with compassion, understanding, and community. Will you like and agree with what I share? I hope so. Will you dislike and disagree with what I share? Well, I also hope so. And I hope to hear from all of you, because we cannot learn if we're not able to discuss with respect, curiosity, and an open mind. Because the thing about parenting is that we all parent in our own unique ways. And that means that we'll agree and we'll disagree about what is best, right? It's about shifting the parenting and family paradigm from what's been instilled and insisted to what we need to do to make it work for our family. So just a little about me. For 49 years, I lived a life of putting everyone else's needs ahead of mine, believing that that was how to show love. From childhood, I thought if I could just do and be what everyone needed or wanted from me, and I'm talking parents, family, peers, teachers, boyfriends, you name it, I thought that they would love me and they would know that I loved them. This then bled into adulthood, and especially in my marriage and as a mother. And it was physically, mentally, and emotionally exhausting. And really, despite my best efforts, it was rarely enough. So back in 2018, facing a divorce, single parenthood, and really something of an identity crisis, because who was I after 26 years, more than half of my life as a wife and a mom? Who was I after this? It's kind of all I knew. And it started to register that maybe I'd been going about this whole seeking and showing love in the wrong way, and that maybe how I was trying to parent wasn't the right way also. It was in taking that first step and braving many storms that threatened to wipe me out that I came out on the other side so much stronger than I ever imagined possible. The most important part of this journey for me was that not only did I learn so much about myself, but learning that I was not showing up for my children as the best parent I could be for them. And I knew much of it had to do with what I thought showing love was and what I thought parenting was supposed to look and sound like. So training for me began in 2017. I took a course in emotional intelligence at a local college, and it has been an empowering journey ever since. For those of you who would like to know what kind of training and experience I have, I get that. I respect that. And I'm just going to do that here in the intro video here, because I would much rather spend our time talking about issues and getting into content. So I am trained in emotional intelligence. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology with an emphasis on child psychology. I am trained and certified in conscious parenting from Shefali Sabari. I'm also trained and certified in conscious uncoupling and calling in the one with Catherine Woodward Thomas, because sometimes families change. A couple will separate or maybe divorce, and getting through that process and the times, it's hard, it's painful, and it's difficult, and the need to co-parent in a healthy way takes on greater importance than maybe ever before. And also because sometimes you might meet someone new, and navigating bringing that new person into the family can be challenging for your children especially. Beyond that, I am trained and certified in the School of Awakening with Eckhart Tolle and Kim Eng. I have a Master Practitioner certification in Neurolinguistics. I have a Level 3 certification in HUNA, and I'm currently training with the Gottman Institute. All totaled to date, I probably have just about 7,000 hours of education, training, experience with parenting, co-parenting, relationships, coaching, emotional intelligence, mindful practice, and neurolinguistics. And I am on a never-ending path of continuous learning. So now about this channel. what sets the thing about parenting apart from other parenting programs is that we know that the approach is of the mindset that parenting is not a cookie cutter process. And what does that even mean? It simply means that there is no single, even best way to parent our children, because at the very core, every one of our children is different. One approach to things may work with one of our children and completely backfire with our other child. Again, it's about shifting the parenting and family paradigm. And maybe you're wondering, why would we want to shift the parenting and family paradigms? Or why even this channel? With all of the people out there who offer podcasts, videos, webinars, books, TED Talks, solutions, programs, coachings, trainings, and so on about parenting, connecting, communication, family, and children, you'd think we'd all be doing amazing by now, right? But with so many out there, how do you know which ones to watch? How do you decide which ones to listen to? How do you find that connection with the ones who can really speak to your needs, show you what you need to see, and who can truly sense what you need in life? Because there have been so many tips, suggestions, and strategies over the decades, and many of them have been revamped, discredited, and even reinstituted. So what makes this any different? Those are great questions. I imagine you're here because you may have heard of conscious or mindful parenting, or maybe connected parenting, or something along those lines, and you're curious about it. Or maybe you've been trying to apply some of the concepts for conscious, mindful, and connected parenting, and you're trying to make it work for your family. Perhaps you're facing some challenges and just need some help and guidance. Maybe you're finding yourself struggling with what you feel is best for your child, and it's kind of a conflict for you. Perhaps you're noticing that what you've been doing isn't working, or you feel like something just isn't right. Maybe you're facing backlash from friends, family, society, or maybe even your own partner. Maybe things are going great and you're just looking for more ways to keep that momentum flowing. Or maybe you just stumbled across this podcast and this channel randomly and decided to check it out. Listen, wherever you are in your situation with your family, I want you to know you're on the right track and you're right where you belong. As parents, we all face challenges with our parenting, and we question our choices, both past and present, right? We often ask things like, did I handle that right? Should I have done this instead? Am I passing my insecurities onto my child? How do those parents make it look so easy? How do I get my children to listen and do as I ask? Why is my child acting rude? Why do they constantly push the boundaries? And at one point, or maybe at many of them, you've wondered what the best approach would be in a given situation and likely felt exasperated at times. I certainly did. There is no single or even best way to parent our children because at the core, every one of our children is different. One approach to things may work with one of our children and completely backfire with another child. We have to meet our children where they are and grow from there. So what do I mean by that? We may have children who come from, let's say, the same recipe, the same gene pool. But just like the circumstances of how anything we cook or bake can change how it turns out, maybe higher altitude, oven function, ingredients, measurements, and so on, well, so too it is with the uniqueness of our children. Now, obviously, we can't scrap our children and start over like we could with a recipe, but we can make adjustments and substitutions. The key thing, again, to remember is that we have to meet our children where they are and grow from there. And I will share much more on that in an upcoming video. For now, though, let me just give you an example. And let me know if you've experienced or noticed this in your family and with your children. I still am a stay-at-home mom for 28 years now. My parenting journey began in 1994 with the birth of my first child. At that time, co-sleeping, baby wearing, and learning and leading into your child's or your baby's crying were among the top tips from the experts from infancy to about age 3. In childhood and adolescence, the advice was to keep tuned into your child, have an active involvement in your child's activities, to dedicate time with them for play and other focused attention, to encourage them, and to work to boost their self-esteem. It was a big contrast to what my mother-in-law, grandparents, and some of society's experts advised, and let me tell you, they advised. Overall, though, through the years, what the experts said we should do, what well-meaning family members offered, and what society suggested, it just didn't sit right with me. I felt like something fundamental was missing in how I was relating to, caring for, and raising my children. My second child was born in 1998, and my third was born in 1999. And what I quickly learned over those 5 years, from having the one child with her personality needs and so on, to having 3 children with their personalities, needs, and so on, was that even with that exact same gene pool, each of my children were unique, and what worked for one did not work for the other. So even though the parenting section of the bookstore had hundreds, maybe even thousands of books now on how to be a good parent, how to care for and nurture your child, what to expect, and all of the how-tos that parents want to learn, none of it works for every child. I also noticed that some of the experts, the ones who wrote the books, who spoke about, who trained on, who taught on the topic of parenting, some of them didn't even have children. Conscious parenting and living from a conscious place, a place of mindfulness, awareness, self-responsibility, it opened up so much insight and opportunity to help me see why what I was doing failed to create change. It gave me clarity for why I repeatedly did the things that were not working. It gave me the ability to see and hear my children for the unique individuals they were and are, and the patience, presence, and awareness to foster healthier and stronger relationships with them. I struggled with the conflict between what I felt was right in caring for and raising my children, what the current experts suggested, and what friends and family thought were the best practices. I frequently wondered, what is the best way to nurture my child? How do I teach my child to, at one time, be an autonomous and sentient being while also trying to teach values and enforce boundaries? Any of this sound familiar? It's so normal. And that's what the thing about parenting is all about. It is in shifting this paradigm on parenting and families and taking a conscious, honest, and mindful look at the way we have been told parenting and family life should look like, so that we can really tap into what it could be and what it's meant to be for us and our family. Each episode is an opportunity to dig deeper and deeper into old parenting patterns of the past. These are the ones that your parents passed down from their parents and they from their parents, and so on, that you are now able to break. As you listen to the videos, you will build on a journey of discovery about your family, about your children, and about yourself. And one of the things I really want you to understand right now is that you actually have more resources than you could ever imagine. So in addition to the podcasts that I will have, and with those others who are experts in this field, I'll be bringing in the experts on what it is to be a child now, our children. This, to me, is an essential perspective for us to consider in order to create healthy and strong relationships with our children. Conscious parenting involves having an awareness and being mindful of what is going on in our children's lives and in their world, because it helps us meet them where they are so we can grow from there together. Picture this for a moment. Creating healthy and strong connections with your children and your family that can last a lifetime and set a new precedent for future generations. Hearing more joy, laughter, and healthy conversations and interactions with your children and as a family. Experiencing greater connection with your children and as a family, whether things are going great or when you are facing challenges. You would not have this vision if you were not capable of achieving it. You wouldn't be listening if you didn't think there must be a better way. And you wouldn't be checking out this podcast if you didn't feel like you, your children, and your family weren't worth it. Now, I can tell you, if I can do it, you can do it too. But I feel like that, while true, is kind of overused and can come across as though anyone can do it, and we can. But just as parenting is not a cookie cutter process and that some recipes need adjustments, we as individuals and as parents to each of our unique children will see different results at different times and in different ways. I know it may seem far off, but remember, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. So let's get this journey started. So just a reminder, the information in this podcast is not meant to replace or substitute that of licensed professionals. If you, your children, or your family are experiencing a crisis beyond the scope of what we share in this podcast, please seek professional help. And until next time, remember, parenting is not a cookie cutter process. Meet your child where they are and grow from there. See you next time.